okay? For people that don't know, Marisa is kind of like an ambassador of the Shriners Hospital for us. She goes around to other shrine places and gives talks on her family and on the shrine and what they do for the people outside the shrine. And she's got a few things that she would like to tell you tonight. I think you'll be very impressed with it. Marisa.
She's pretending to be shy. Don't let that fool you for a moment. Marco. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, honorable past and present potentates, respected Shriners and their ladies of the Sudan and visiting temples, Masonic brothers and sisters and friends. To be able to address you in this capacity is an honor, and I am truly grateful for this opportunity to share our story with you. Some of you may remember us from the Winter Ceremonial. For those of you joining us tonight in the Spring Ceremonial, I am greatly just honored for this opportunity to meet you tonight. 7 years ago tomorrow, Raelyn was brought into this world 8 weeks early after I suffered a 50% placental abruption, resulting in emergency cesarean. The medical team in Concord, North Carolina, told me that had we been another 5 minutes getting into the operating room, Raelyn and I would not have survived. A week later, even though Raelyn proved her strength and doctors were projecting an early discharge, everything fell apart as she was diagnosed with necrotizing enterocolitis just hours after her father had called me with the news that he had been diagnosed with colorectal cancer at the age of 35. For 6 weeks, we lived in the Carolina Medical Center Northeast and Jeff Gordon Children's Hospital, 4 hours away from home. Once discharged, we fought our father's cancer over the next few months, beating it so that to this day he remains cancer-free. With the nightmare of With the nightmare of 2009 over and having just celebrated Raelyn's first birthday, I noticed signs of serious delay. Even with the expected 2-month grace period allowed by her prematurity and the experience that I had with her sister Rachel having been born 6 weeks prematurely, she couldn't sit up on her own. She couldn't crawl. She couldn't hold up her head up for very long while laying on her stomach. These are milestones that you would expect a 3-month or a 9-month-old to complete. Her eyes, once straight, began to drift inward. I took her to the Childhood Developmental Services Agency in New Bern for testing, where they determined at 15 to 17 months of age, she was only 7 to 9 months old developmentally. We then went to East Carolina Neurology in Greenville, where her new doctor ordered an MRI. The results showed that Raelyn had periventricular leukomalacia moderately spread throughout her brain, meaning that the white matter in her brain was dead. And sometime around her birth, she suffered a stroke. At the follow-up, the neurologist confirmed she had cerebral palsy, later specified to congenital diplegia CP, meaning it affects mainly her legs. We immediately received a referral for physical, occupational, and speech therapy through Onza Memorial Hospital Rehabilitation Center in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where Raelyn did her best, but at 2 years old, she could only do so much, especially when we had appointment after appointment after appointment booked the same day. At some point during these appointments, a man approached me, having seen me with Raelyn and Rachel and severely pregnant with our third daughter, Raelyn. He handed me a card. On it was a picture of the Shriners Hospital. I placed the card in my wallet, having been preoccupied in the moment, smiled and thanked and explaining my family's history. My father was a past master of La Mesa Lodge number 407, an Albar Shriner, a member of the Scottish Rite, and he was also a Grand Sword Bearer in California. My mother, having been a past Grand Officer of a California Rainbow Assembly and a current Eastern Star member, and I am a past Worthy Advisor majority member of Lemon Grove number 272, and also a former Eastern Star member. So I was very familiar with the Shriners. I never saw that man again, but I still remember him to this day as an angel, and I've never let that card go. Years later, after numerous failed attempts to continue her therapy through the school, even under the protection of her IEP, we resumed her physical and occupational occupational therapy services at Onslow, and within the first month, we saw major improvements, as did the hospital. They were so impressed with her recovery and with her strides that they actually used her for the advertisement campaign for the hospital. And that was actually developed into a local news story. Before 2015, yeah, I know, you've got a lot of hair, just like Mom, it gets caught on everything. Before 2015, Raelyn was discharged, having met all goals and graduating from their care. One day as I was going through my wallet, I came across the card the man had given me years before. I called, made an appointment, and was welcomed into the family of the Shriners Hospital. The doctors and nurses there listened to every single one of my concerns and answered every question that I had. They never treated me as inferior or ignorant. They partnered with me in ensuring that Raelyn receives the best, most focused care available. Anything that may have been done incorrectly in the past, they remedied despite my insecurities and fears that I'd somehow failed Raelyn. They gave me the best gift in the world. They told me that I was a good mom, that I was doing everything right. And to any of you that have ever been through a period of strife, those are the most magical words you can ever hear, that you're a good parent. While part of me wished I'd made the call sooner, I realized that I made the call exactly as I was meant to. Raelyn has endured so much. A premature birth, eye surgery, numerous out-of-towns to neurologists, ophthalmologists, gastroenterologists, physical and psychiatric therapists, orthopedists, and yet she's excelled and defied the odds. She has proven every day that, like her two sisters, she's a miracle and a fighter. From scoring goals in soccer, winning local and state beauty pageants, keeping up with her peers in dance class and the first grade, Raelyn is not disabled. She's diff-abled, a term my family has come up with meaning differently abled. And through it all, Raelyn has maintained her unconditionally loving and compassionate personality. In fact, when asked by the physician assistant at her last appointment at the Shriners Hospital what she wanted to be when she grew up, she said, a doctor that works here. The saying, God never gives us anything more than we can handle, is not true. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future, Jeremiah 29:11. Like any good personal trainer, God gives us just a little more weight to our load, but spots us as we adapt and strengthen ourselves to handle the extra pressure. He would never let us drop it. And as long as we do not give up, He rewards us for our efforts and our faith. According to Romans 8:28, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to her purpose. The Shriners Hospital of Greenville, South Carolina was our reward for pushing harder and persevering. Despite years of frustration and setbacks, and in the months and years to come, they will continue to be the catalyst of God's love. To say that this has been a long road so far would not only be an understatement, but it would be slightly inaccurate. I've never known a road to have so many detours and obstacles. Instead, I see this as a footpath, but not a beaten footpath. As no two people travel the same way or always to the same destination, and also in the sense that we have not yet been defeated, nor will we be. I have come to call this the unbeaten path, as every step is into new territory, and we refuse to give up and turn around, regardless how difficult the terrain becomes or how impossible it seems to navigate it. My parents raised me to have this faith of a mustard seed, telling me that with it I can move mountains, and that nothing would be impossible for me, as stated in Matthew 17:20. When Raelyn was diagnosed as developmentally delayed, I was discouraged. When they told me that she had brain damage and cerebral palsy, I was destroyed. Every one of us that has had children have had this image of a perfect child in our minds, and any detour from that, it feels like you failed. But the impossible mountain stood before me, and the summit seemed inaccessible. At times what seemed to be the height of Mount Everest also had the added length of the Appalachian Trail at the base. But not wishing my daughters to give up either, we walked the trail anyway, our heads held high and hope in our hearts. And because of the Shriners Hospital, we not only have a clear view of the top, but we actually have a tangible way of reaching it. Cerebral palsy is not a journey that I planned on, but I love my tour guide. Because of Raelyn and my daughters, I have learned that suffering is not the absence of goodness, but perhaps it is the place where true beauty can be known. In our times of struggle and desperation, we can become the most powerful messengers of God's love. God bless every single one of you for the work you do to support this amazing organization and the facilities they provide across the country. Without you, my daughter would not have the same possibilities in front of her. After all, community service is not just about devoting time and money to a purpose. If done correctly, it can not only impact the patients and families benefiting from these projects, but it has the potential to positively shape the individual volunteer. You, every one of you. It is God's calling for us, for we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good work, which God prepared in advance for us to do, Ephesians 2:10. We have each been put on this earth by His design to love one another, and it is that love that comes to the rescue. The world is our mission field, and community service is our method of navigating it and spreading God's unwavering grace and love. Every task is vitally important, as it is an opportunity to make a difference in someone else's life. You heard the story earlier of another family that community service and devotion, their lives have been touched as well. Although it may seem small and insufficient or simply insignificant, we must remember that God can do so much with so little. We must consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, reminding ourselves and others that while the road may become treacherous, there are others out there that may have it worse. Hebrews 10:24. A monetary contribution, a can of food, a toy, donating clothes no longer wanted or worn can all be means of showing God's love to another in desperate need. Even if you have nothing of substance, your time may be more valuable to someone than any material item. Sometimes all a person or even a child needs is an ear, a shoulder, or a smile. The moments spent with them are priceless. The service you do on behalf of the Shriners Hospital to benefit families like mine is a provided answer to a higher calling. All we need is to have faith that we will have the right tools at the right moment, because God will never let us go it alone. I pray that our being here and sharing our story with you will inspire you not only to continue your work for the Shriners Hospital, but to remind those you know or meet who may be in similar situations to ours that they are only limited by the limitations that they define for themselves, and that they are never alone. Remind them whenever they feel overwhelmed and discouraged. Raelyn, can you help me out on this one? You are kind, you are smart, you are important, and above all else, you are loved. In closing, I'd like to share with you the speech I wrote and recited for my installation's worthy advisor. It's titled, Be Your Own Hero. This is our purpose, to make as meaningful as possible this life that has been bestowed upon us, to live in such a way that we may be proud of ourselves, to act in such a way that some part of us lives on. Oswald Spengler, German philosopher. What images come to your mind when you hear the word hero? Some of us have grown up with characters like Superman, who leap tall buildings in a single bound. Throughout history, the hero has had 1,000 different faces. Mayor Rudy Giuliani once stated that people are looking for heroes and finding them in our firefighters and police officers. Ordinary people doing extraordinary jobs. Even now, young men and women in our armed forces are preparing to go to war against evil and terrorism in order to protect the freedom we hold dear. Regardless of which hero image you envision, every one of them has similar characteristics. Faith is the common denominator of heroes. Courage comes from faith, says Dr. Charles Stanley, noted author and evangelist. It is born from a power greater than ourselves. A hero is someone who steps away from his own needs help someone else. Knowing this, it makes it possible for us to focus our attention inward, seeking to find within ourselves those heroic qualities that we admire in others. Looking within is a tedious process that demands courage, patience, and perseverance, says author Richard Weber, my father. The Bible teaches in 1 Corinthians 16:13 through 14, be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be men of courage, be strong, do everything in love, And in Philippians 4:13, I can do everything through him who gives me faith. So what we need to find within ourselves is number one, the courage to persevere, pursuing our dreams in spite of life's obstacles. 2, strength of character, never sacrificing our integrity, for without honor, we have nothing. 3, a deep faith in God, who has given us hope for the future, and an unwavering love for the mankind that he has created. With these 3 things in mind, we can now seize the opportunities that life presents, with our focus squarely on our Father in heaven, actively seeking his will as the blueprint for our respective lives. We can confidently forge ahead, being our own hero. Life is a process of becoming, but everything begins and ends with faith. According to Lady Bird Johnson, children are apt to live up to what you believe of them. I believe Rachel, Raelyn, and Riley to be unstoppable, and through hard work and perseverance, capable of anything they put their minds to. Some people never get the chance to meet their heroes. I gave birth to all 3 of mine. God bless you and thank you until we meet again.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That's very inspiring. Hey,